What's up, guys? So today I have a amazing person, called Drew, who is going to join me to talk about so much. Okay, he's going to talk about memes, which he is an absolute pro at. He is going to talk about the fact that he's a black belt and he runs his own school and is absolutely thriving during this weird kind of thing that's happening to the world, which is amazing. And that could be because he also has an online instructional. So he has many strings to his bow. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to him. So hopefully he will join us ASAP, because otherwise it will get awkward. There he is. Brilliant. Very excited about this. It's just working now. Hello.
Helen, am I coming through?
You are absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. How's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a little while.
It has. It's been too long, as always, I would say. You know, you can never have too much of Drew. Simple.
Hey, I'm not seeing my video on my side. Are you seeing my video?
I am, yeah. You're on
Okay.
your laptop?
No, I'm just on the phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes on the laptop it doesn't work so well, but I don't know the technicalities, the ins and
I'll
outs and
just,
all the technical stuff.
I'll just
But
assume that I'm beautiful and keep going.
you are absolutely. I'm slightly sad that I can't see your hair, but I will take
Yeah,
the cap because it's still
you got me
nice.
before it got styled, so this is all I can do.
It's okay. I'll let you off just this once. Just this once. So I have about 3 million questions for you, but I'm going to try and keep it like quite contained because, we're on a
Yeah,
time limit.
yeah, hit
Uh,
me.
okay. So let's just start with the fact that you've been in martial arts for so long. How actually did you get started in the world of martial arts?
Martial arts in general, I started with karate when I was, I guess, 18, just before I turned 19. Um, I had always wanted to as a kid, but my parents didn't want me to. I don't know if I've never asked them whether they just didn't see the use in it or if they didn't have the money. It was one or the other. But
Okay.
I,
Or
I
they were
get the
scared,
feeling like
maybe?
my my dad, he would be considered an intellectual. He's a math, science, physics teacher, and he just doesn't see the use, I think, or the interest in that type of brutish behavior kind of thing, you know. So I feel like he just like didn't want his boy to get caught in that world. Well, sorry, Dad, we're here now.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
once I moved out of the house, yeah, once I moved out of the house, like within 3 months, I was training karate.
Wow. That's insane. So it was like almost like it was meant to be. That was like your calling,
Oh, it was
kind
it was
of.
bound to happen. Yeah, I was big into Ninja Turtles from like age 4,
Well, all the good people are.
right?
So you started karate and then you did that for how long?
I was in karate in Goju Kai karate for 3 years. I got to I think an orange belt level before I ducked out, and I switched over at that point. I kind of like transitioned half doing karate and then half doing Illustrissimo Cali, which is a Filipino stick fighting. And I did
Yes.
that for a couple years. Got like third or fourth, whatever level they have there out of eight. Had some fun, but um, I wound up. I was in a band, and one of my bandmates, he did karate, he did some Cali, but he also did a little bit of jujitsu that he took like 2 weeks or 3 weeks worth at the local club that was just basically in a garage at that point. And so that 3 weeks made him the jujitsu guy, and he knew like a
Yeah.
triangle choke, he knew a rear naked choke, and that was worlds beyond anything that any of his friend group could do. So we were wrestling around one time Well, how it started is I was at a Christmas party with him, and I brought some of these practice Cali sticks that are padded. So he's like, "We should do some practice stuff." So I started doing some Cali, and I was presently doing it, and he had stopped. So I was getting the better of him with these things, and he threw the baton basically in my face and double legged me to the ground, and all of a sudden we're in a scramble. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I ended up like reversing into his full guard, and of the very few submission attacks that Cali has, one of the few they use for disarming is they call it a hammerlock, which is Americana. And so
Oh,
that was
okay.
all I had going. So inside of his closed guard, I reached for an Americana and actually twist his arm till he tapped. Little did I know you're not supposed to do it from there, but it was all I knew. And like he had like 3 weeks of training, so it
That's
worked.
amazing.
And I was hooked after that because up to that point, my karate experience for 3 years was like point karate. So it was pulling your punches to the face, no contact, light contact to the body. The Cali was mostly like one-on-one classes where we went over all the different techniques, very little sparring. When we got
That's
to
like a lot of
sparring, it was just like,
thrilling.
yeah, it was like two rabid animals just whacking at each other. There was no technique anymore. And this was the first time where I had run into something that the technique worked as it was supposed to work, and a person gave up and admitted defeat to me. It wasn't a referee saying, yeah, that punch was close enough, or, that blow to the body with that padded stick probably would have counted kind of thing. Like he told me he lost. And I was like, okay, this is real. So like the
This is
next day
amazing.
I looked up the jiu-jitsu place, which again was in a garage in the Yellow Pages in 2007, and that's
Oh,
where I started.
the yellow pages. I
Yep.
love it. That's
That
amazing.
dates it. That dates it.
That's literally amazing. Someone joked with me the other day that I wasn't old enough to know about the yellow pages, and I was like, my first business, I advertised in the yellow pages. I was like, I
Wow.
advertised in that place. Like I saw my name on the little thing, and it made me
Yeah.
so excited. I was like
You gotta
19,
really
so
mean it. You gotta really mean it to put an ad in the Yellow Pages.
yeah, it's like a big deal.
Yeah,
Um, oh, okay. So, garage jiu-jitsu is obviously the best way to start. We all know this.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the authentic start, I guess, you
It
know?
it does feel a little more grassroots. And to be honest, when I started in this area, I'm in Alberta, Canada, and in 2007, if you weren't in one of the two major city hubs in Edmonton or Calgary, and I was in between it in Red Deer, it's the Wild West. Like there's no black belts. You're a lot of stuff you're learning from people who learned from somebody who learned something, and it's like you sort of aggregate a whole bunch of different moves and sort of learn it in that fashion. So for like the first couple of years before the internet really like started giving jujitsu out for free on YouTube and stuff,
Yeah.
it was grassroots as grassroots can get.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I can only imagine. I mean, even when I started was 10 years ago, and I was taught by a purple belt, and that was the most exciting thing in the world because he was a purple belt, and it's such a
Yeah,
big deal. And it was like there
yeah.
was no purple belts. And then I
I
met a black
remember.
belt, and I was like, oh my God, it's a
Oh, I
real
know,
thing.
right?
It's not just on TV.
That's
It's not
a
just on
mythical
YouTube.
animal. Yeah, I remember the first when I got my purple belt, the first tournament I did was like, I don't know, a month or so after I got my purple belt, and I walked around so insecure looking for any other purple belts, like thinking nobody's gonna believe me that I'm this thing because nobody else exists. There was like two other people that were purple belts.
Amazing. And now it's like, I would say, what? You're a purple belt, and what? And
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
that used to be a thing, God damn it. That's hilarious. So you obviously, so like now you're a full-time coach, but you
Mhm.
did not start that way, obviously.
Yeah,
So can you tell us a bit about how that came about? Like how, like you used to have like a proper job, and
yeah,
you decided to get, like, give that up because, jiu-jitsu is better, basically.
yeah, definitely. Well, the proper job ended while I was a brown belt. So I was a journeyman welder for 15 years, and I was done with it after like 9. So like the last 6 years was me trying to find an out and just getting really unimpressed with the trade as a whole. It's just, especially in Alberta, it's very up and down with the waves of the oil field that you're either
Right.
it's boom or bust. And I'd gone through enough busts and enough layoffs. And I'm like, this is not sustainable. I got to do something better. And it just so happened that the company I was with during the final bust, where I stuck around long enough that they gave me a good severance. So I had a nest egg now, and we had a decision at that point whether we take that nest egg just for the family and go chase a job somewhere else, or if we invest that into something I actually want to do. And it took some convincing to get my wife on board, but I was
Yeah, I
like,
can
this
imagine.
might be my only chance to do it. So we put the money into that, and like really it was about 6 months worth of living expenses if we were tight on our budget. And 12 months went by and we were still rocking, and it took off, it
Wow.
picked up. And there's a lot of times where in that first year it was very touch and go, month to month, kind of trying to make the bills. But you hard times make you work harder, so
Oh
we
yeah,
found our way through,
definitely.
and now
And
we're
did,
rolling.
did you already have kids at that point?
Yeah, I got 4 kids.
Yeah. So, and you
But,
already had four kids then?
I had 3 at that point. I've had one since, but I believe my wife was pregnant with the fourth, so it's not an easy
That
decision
was
to
a
make because
brave decision.
there was no
Wow.
lateral move out of that trade. I had gotten to the point where I was making really good money, and so like part of the decision was, are you willing to lose the house to try this? Because that was on the docket.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive, to be honest. That's like, I mean,
Uh,
it just takes so much balls that, to be honest, not very many people have,
I blame
just being
CTE.
real.
I
Huh?
blame CTE. I said I blame CTE. Is my poor decision making actually paid off? But
Brilliant. So, were you coaching already in someone else's facility, or did you just go, you
um,
know what, screw it, I can do this?
I was a assistant instructor where I was being trained. So I
Okay.
was a brown belt there. I would pick up like maybe a couple classes a month when my instructor couldn't do it because he had a day job as well, and sometimes his shifts didn't work. So I'd be like, "Don't worry, I got it," kind of thing. So I had a bit of experience, but then when I started my own thing, that was where I really had to relearn how to teach people. I guess not relearn, just learn itself, because all you're ever concerned with as a student is your own learning and trying to learn most efficiently for yourself. But now you're in charge of a dozen or 2 dozen other people, and their brains don't work like yours, and you got to try to find the most efficient way to bring the words out of your mouth to put the ideas into their head. It's
Yeah.
a trick.
Oh man. Yeah. It's like it's another like it's a whole skill in itself. Just pure
Yeah.
teaching, like even just knowing what you're doing, but like actually like imparting that knowledge onto someone else or into someone else.
Mm,
I'm not sure. But
yeah,
did you find that you learned better, like or like your jujitsu got better as you started teaching? Because I hear a lot of people
definitely.
say that.
Yeah, not only does it do that, and universally so, I haven't met somebody who says it doesn't, but I actually
Mhm.
require it of my color belts now. Once they have a color belt, we have a adult class in the afternoon that the ranking color belt teaches, because that's part of his training, is learning how to verbalize what he knows.
Such a good idea. Like I hear a lot of like school teachers saying like, oh, you have to explain it to an alien, explain this concept to an alien, and like so that they would understand. But it's like you're almost doing that by teaching white belts. I'm not saying that white belts are aliens, but I'm not saying that they're not. Um, but they have the alien concept of, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what an
Yeah,
armbar is. I don't know what a femur is. Like I don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying words to me. Like I don't know what these are. And so if you're explaining it to someone that has that kind of attitude, I guess, then it's like you must be good at explaining it. Like if you can get
yeah,
it across to them.
you have to get away from the lingo as much as possible, especially with new
Yeah.
people. And there's 2 different um, kinds of teaching that I had to learn. One was they're kind of the same thing, but I'll tell you the difference. Is one is coming down to the core of why something works, apart from the lingo. So just use words that all adults will understand, like leverage, momentum, things like that, instead of like shrimping and
Yeah.
these more jiu-jitsu specific terms. That was one thing, and I figured that one out first. But then at the same time, I had to learn how to take those ideas and dumb them down to four-letter words for the kids class because they don't understand momentum and leverage. So you had to kind of learn it twice on how to explain it. This is how I explain it to the kids. Like, pretend you're cold, get your hands by your head. And another
That's
way for
cool.
the
That.
for the
That's the
adult
one.
is like keep your arms by your core, stuff like that.
Yeah, like T-Rex arms.
Yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the one I always use. I'm like, pretend you're a T-Rex. Like that works for
Yeah.
adults and children, so it's quite universal. Um, um, so like your business, your main business, your gym, you've been running that for what? How long
Uh,
now?
just over 2 years. Just over 2 years.
Yeah, I thought it was, and then I thought I was going crazy, and I was like, wait, that's right, right?
Everything
Um,
is everything's hard to keep track of now with all this lockdown shit. You don't even know what day of the week it is.
yeah. Oh, I really struggle. I'm like yesterday, my mum told me it was Friday tomorrow, and I believed her for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, do we have Thursday already? Like, what the hell happened?
Is
When did
Thursdays
that?
gone?
When did
Do
that
you not do
happen?
Thursdays anymore?
Yeah, I was like what? I'm so confused. So has it been affected by COVID? Obviously, yes. And is it positive or negative now as you are now?
Yeah, this was something that I was very concerned, not only as a coach and a student myself, but as a business owner, was how is this quarantine, if and when it ever ends, how is it going to affect my business when I come back? And it really, in my mind, before it ever happened, could have gone one of two ways. It was either most people who already trained are going to be uncomfortable coming back and doing that again now that it's like touch is off limits. Um, in their minds, right? And the other one was maybe people are just really sick of staying at home and they want to get out and try something. And in my experience so far, it's been the latter, thankfully. Like we've had a big boom coming back, especially coming into the school after the summer period, which I was curious about as well, because summer's always a lull in martial
Yeah,
arts. A lot of people go away, kids go off on summer break and stuff like that, but then it comes back. And it still hasn't stopped. I actually signed up 3 new students yesterday. Like I'm not even having to market. People are just walking in through the door, finding me on email, on text message, and it's great. I'm actually really surprised and happy the way that things have come back.
that's incredible. So it's almost like it's worth having that like 4 or 5 months of kind of nothing just to get this massive boom now. And I guess you appreciate it so much more almost because you're like, wow, this is incredible that the amount of people that are starting again, you know?
Yeah, I'll take a
Um,
boom any way I can get it, but I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't want
right?
another lockdown, you know?
No, I'm not saying that you would want it, but it kind of like, it makes you appreciate it so much more.
Yes, yeah, big
And you
time.
just had a question saying that have you noticed any new people coming in? I think you pretty much answered that anyway, but
Yeah, lots of new
um,
people. We've actually doubled our adult roster and maybe like a third more of our kids.
wow, that's like incredible. And I mean, like anyone who runs a school is like hearing that is just going to only give them hope because
Hmm.
I mean, here people are still pretty much like, no, you're not supposed to be doing any contact right now here.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
because, that's what they do. But,
Uh,
um, there's like a 10 grand fine if someone gets COVID and spreads it by going to a place and doing contact. So basically, if someone goes to a jiu-jitsu gym that's had a positive test,
yeah.
the gym, not the person, the gym will get a 10 grand fine. So I'm
Yeah.
like,
It's different place to place right now, and it's
yeah,
rough. I have a lot of sympathy for people that are in harder hit areas, or at least areas that are cracking down harder. Like Coyoterra had to shut down his school after the health inspector kept coming back and he said, "I'm gonna lay 10 grand on you every day you're open, and I'm gonna come back every day till you're not."
yeah.
Nobody can sustain that.
No, exactly. And it's like, But I mean, it's so like, is it really like that in the UK? Yeah, it is really like that in the UK. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I do know people that are training, and I do know gyms that are open for and inviting people to come in. You know,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I'm not really okay with because that's just going to prolong the situation.
sure.
Um, but like I don't have a problem with bubble training at all. Like I think that's the way to do it. But
Yeah, we call it
yeah,
cohorts here. It's the same idea. You stick
okay,
to a certain group of people.
yeah. And I think, I mean, like I was doing that at the beginning when the pros went back. The pros went back before the everyone went back here,
Sure. The
and
hobbyist.
yeah, and so I had like there was six of us that were
Mm,
training, and it was just six every time, the same six, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with that.
yeah.
Um, but there's, I mean, now especially in London, London is there's everyone's just training. No one seems to care anymore. It's just like,
Oh,
do
really?
you
I
even
thought it would
hear
be the
this?
other way around. It seems the big city centers are the ones that get locked down harder.
Oh, really? Well, I
Yeah.
think up north, because I'm down south, but up north,
Hmm.
it's like there's local lockdowns, and someone just actually wrote that. Actually, I think it was Leeds. There's local lockdowns in pretty much all the big cities now, but
Yeah.
and London hasn't locked down yet. But I'm out in the
Interesting.
country. I'm like an hour and a half from London, so
Mhm. Yeah,
like
that's a lot.
here is okay, but there's no jiu-jitsu here, so that's useless to me. Like I have to go to a city to get the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So that part is useless. Yeah, a lot of people, yeah, I've just gone past it. Someone's gym got shut down. The club is now open, but not allowing new people with temperature testing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sensible. Definitely the temperature testing is definitely a good idea.
Yeah, it's at
Although
least something.
it's something, but like literally 30% of people with COVID get a temperature. So
Yeah.
like it's
You
not
know,
that
it
effective.
comes down to whatever your present government that's got oversight over you is allowing you to do. You basically just have to do your best and accept the risks that you might catch it. Like that's
Yeah,
basically where we're
yeah,
at, and everybody knows that.
yeah.
Everybody who's training is okay with it. We actually have a waiver, separate COVID waiver
Good.
when new people come in, saying that you're going to come into contact with people and you accept the risks.
That's amazing. I think they should definitely do that here. I mean, I don't know if people are doing it. I haven't heard it, but that's such a good idea. I think people should do it. So if anyone's
Mhm.
out there that runs a gym, get that on there. Okay, so just moving on and out of the COVID kind of space
Yeah,
because, we don't want to talk about that forever.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
circular drain.
yeah, kind of, yeah, shit. 10 years ago, if somebody told you 10 years ago that what you'd be doing now, running your own gym, black belt, having like the best meme site in the whole of the internet,
Yeah, that one came out
would
of nowhere, to
you,
be honest.
huh?
That one came out of nowhere. I never would have expected that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some things you can predict and there's some things you can't. But if someone told you you'd had all of this in 10 years' time, what would you have said to them?
Well, 10 years ago, I guess I would have been like a blue belt at that point.
Hmm.
I would have loved to hear
Yes.
that I'm a black belt. That was really my only goal at that point.
Okay.
Like I'd already got the bug. I loved doing it. I was competing a lot. So that was forever my goal was to get to black belt. But everything besides that, running a school kind of came a little bit later, like into my purple belt. I started thinking about that a little more. The memes again came out of nowhere. That was something that came up in 2015 and just took off like a rocket. So that's has its own
It
momentum
wasn't
at
like
this
a
point.
plan.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I guess you can't really have a business plan with a meme site, but
Well,
um,
yeah,
how
it
did
was
that
never
actually
meant.
start?
Well,
Like, how did
it
it?
kind of started. It started at a low point for me, to be honest. Like I started it out of a frustration with jujitsu. So there was like some political shit going on with me, with our school, with our present affiliation, with people not getting promoted, not having the possibility of getting promoted, and it was just stagnant like that for 2 years. And it was getting to the point that people within the club, yeah, 2 years, within 2 years, there was white belts that started that didn't have a single stripe on their belt and weren't allowed one. So
Right.
again, we're up in the middle of nowhere basically, and we would have to fly in somebody from headquarters for $3,000 seminar plus accommodations and flights for like 12 people. So it's just we couldn't afford it basically, and we
Yeah.
couldn't afford to fly everybody down to go get them individually tested. It was a lot of political bullshit, anyways, that
Yeah.
our school was shedding students because they felt like they weren't getting anywhere and they didn't have the possibility to. And eventually, one of our senior students was like, "We got to fix this, or I'm leaving." I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, so we're gonna have to do this." So it was a hard choice at that point. We went solo after cutting off from a major affiliation with no real
Mm.
prospects in mind and like basically nothing to show for it. And so I was really down on jujitsu, and that was the only point in my entire training where I actually considered quitting, where I was like, this isn't
Wow.
going anywhere. It's been years and it hasn't been going anywhere, and there's no prospect of it going anywhere. So at that point, I started the memes on Instagram, like just one day in sort of a bad mood at work. I was in the middle of a shift and just started this account and made it to kind of like poke fun at jujitsu and find all of the absurdities. And little did I know that like what was meant to be sardonic, that was supposed to be like mad sarcasm, ended up like resonating with a lot of people, and it started picking up a lot of followers. And I was like, huh, okay, maybe there's something here. And then after a while, like the sardonic part kind of got worn off, and now it was just like sort of fun, happy sarcasm that it just it honestly it saved my perspective on jujitsu, seeing the rest of the community sort of relate in a lot of these ways and be like, yeah, we are like that, aren't we, kind of thing. And then, long story short, eventually we found ourselves a way around to get promoted. We've got oversight now from a third-degree black belt that helps us get our students graded, and I've got a meme page that just crossed 150,000 people on Instagram.
Yeah. It's like literally insane. I looked on it yesterday, 151,000.
Yeah,
Like, wow. And it was only 150,000 like 4 days ago. So
yeah.
it's like
Gordon Ryan
1,000 more
shared
in like
something. Yeah, Gordon Ryan
that
shared
is
one of my posts and
insane.
gave me 1,000 followers in a day.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I
Yeah,
didn't see that. I kind of I still follow him, but he's hidden at the moment because it's just too much
yeah.
drama. I'm
I
just
actually
like,
don't
oh,
follow
how do
him
you have the
anymore.
energy for
I
this?
know. I love watching that guy compete, and I'll forever watch him compete as a
Yeah,
pure jiu-jitsu
yeah.
enthusiast. But like, he makes my Instagram feed so contentious. I can't. Like, I can't. I gotta take that negativity off.
Yeah, same. I'm like, dude, like I am such a fan of your jiu-jitsu, and there is
Yeah,
no doubt that he's incredible. Like I'm not disputing that in any way, shape, or form. But my God, the drama he just like
yeah,
too much. Like how does he
yeah.
have the energy for all this drama? Like what the hell? It's yeah, no. I don't get it. Like no.
Yeah, yeah.
To
So
me, that is
anyway,
not
thank
what
you, Gordon,
jiu-jitsu
for
is
the
about.
followers, but also still not following.
Yeah, yeah. Like I appreciate it, but that's all I
Yeah.
want from you. Yeah, that's I think Gordon Ryan. I don't know if you've heard of him. Like he's like this, jiu-jitsu
He's
guy
a
who's
living king. He's an American king. If you ask him,
yeah.
he's actually royalty in the U.S.
I
I don't know
think
what
he
that
fully
means
believes
exactly
that
in
as
a
well.
democratic republic, but he wears a crown literally unapologetically in public. I
Yeah,
guess he's good at
I
jiu-jitsu too.
genuinely think that he but like fully believes that he is the king. Like I don't think I think it used to be like kind of ironic and now he's
Uh-huh.
like it's gone too
Yeah,
far. He just fully believes it.
it's like the Colby
It
Covington thing. He started like the mega thing as a bit, and now that's kind
yeah.
of who he has to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I've gone too far down, so now it's just this is how I am.
Yeah,
Like this is just
I
me now.
ran that bit
Like,
until I was in the Oval Office with the president, so I guess that's who I am now.
it's ridiculous. Oh, I could talk about the characters in MMA and Jiu-Jitsu for a long time.
Yeah.
But we are here to talk about you. So, uh, as well as the school, you also have a very popular online tutorial program So
Hmm.
reverse Kimura, and you also have a couple of others. What
Yeah.
made you do that? Was that COVID that sparked that off, or was that already like, did that already happen before then, or like what was the
Well,
timeline?
I had been making videos partly just to document it for myself, for posterity, but also just for people who are following me, mostly on the Facebook side of things, from like purple belts. That was something I was doing for a while. But I told myself that I wasn't going to make it a thing until I at least had a black belt, because the thing about
Yeah.
putting techniques online is half the comments are going to shit on it. So at least if I have a
Yep.
black belt, I can be like, shut up, blue belt. you know? But
Yes.
I, at that point, I started a YouTube page and got that to over 4,000 subscribers on that. But YouTube is one of those things that people expect like a certain amount of production involved in it
Mm.
that takes a lot of time. And I was doing it for a while, but it takes a lot of time. And as I was um, doing this, I had the idea like I should be doing like actual technique series and sell them instead of like putting all this stuff up for free, which is great to get my name out and my teaching style, but it really wasn't paying back. Like I had it monetized, but it doesn't even pay $100 a month. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like I've got your reverse Kimura one, the one that you did in lockdown, or you put out in lockdown, and
Yeah.
it was just phenomenal. Like, I just so good,
Yeah. I
so good.
appreciate it.
Like
I've got,
literally, I was like addicted to it. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I just really like your style of teaching. It makes so much sense to my weird brain. So I
well,
think
thanks. That's
everyone
again
else has a
something that I've
weird
been
brain.
focusing on. Like
Yeah.
I used to be a big competitor on the local scene, like not on an international scene. I've done a couple tournaments for IBJJF, but mostly just I stuck around home and I love doing it. So I actually changed my focus at brown belt when I started my own school to focus on again, learning how to teach. And that became such a rabbit hole for me that I stopped competing. And a lot of people keep asking, like, when are you going to come back to competition? I haven't competed at black belt yet, and I've been a black belt over a year. Part of that is because of the lockdown, but part of that is because I'm too interested in teaching right now that my
Yeah.
focus isn't on competition for myself. Like I'm helping other students that I'm bringing up to compete. That's interesting to me. But like the coaching aspect, I don't think it gets the respect that deserves when it comes to
I
jiu-jitsu.
agree.
Like
Yeah,
people
I
want to
agree.
hear that you won pans or that you won worlds or something, or that you're competing against whoever name brand competitors, or else they don't give you a second look. But really, most of the coaches that coach those people into those positions are the real geniuses. And I'm not calling
Yep.
myself a genius, but this is something that I want to aspire to, is like understanding the game deeply.
Yep. Yeah, like basically, you're the Canadian Danaher, is basically what you're saying, pretty much.
Yes, people call me Donna Hare.
I love that. That's brilliant. I love it. But I totally agree. And like as we said earlier, like teaching itself is such a different skill than doing and competing and all of that. And people will say like, oh, I've done this and I've done this, and I'm like, yeah, but who have you coached? Like, I want to
Yeah.
know who you've coached. If you haven't coached anyone that's good, then you have no, like, I can't see that you have a skill as a coach. Yeah, you might be a good coach, but unless
Sure.
you've coached someone that's good, like, prove it. you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And there's people that are
Um,
very, very good at jujitsu, but can't
yeah,
convey that to their students in a way that
yeah,
translates. And that's
exactly.
that's a weakness that I think they need to focus on. But especially those people, and I don't take it like it's not a knock on them. If competition is their livelihood and their life, they should
Yeah,
be focusing
sure.
on that. But they have to people have to understand that it's very, very difficult and rare to do and find both.
Yeah, very, very. I totally agree. Like 100%. You had a question in saying, what would you do if you didn't do jujitsu? Which I think is quite a good question.
Ooh. This is something I haven't had to think about for like 13 years.
A long
Because
time.
once I started down that rabbit hole, it just never ended. Like I've done everything from training, competing, teaching. I run tournaments. I've run tournaments for like 9 years.
So
Like
cool.
I've traveled around helping other tournaments down in the U.S. I've started seminars, I've taught seminars, like everything in my life for the last decade plus has been jujitsu. So, like, to be honest, to go back before that, I was just a different person. You're talking about a whole different Drew that could have gone wide off in a different direction that who the hell knows? I have honestly no good answer for that.
That's, well, I mean, that's in a way really good because, you know, it's good that you're on this path then, you know,
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, there's like 1,000 things I want to do, then it's like, well, maybe jiu-jitsu isn't the right one.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I've
who
had
knows?
other hobbies. Like I skateboard, play guitar. There's other things. I like video games. I probably could have found a niche in any one of those things, but I don't think I would have stuck around the same way I have with jujitsu because it's just there's so much more to it. It's so deep,
Yeah.
both on the physical, the mental, and the spiritual level. Like it gives you everything.
Well, like I always think that I love things that you can never learn everything. So
Mm,
like at the moment I'm at psychology uni, doing a degree in psychology. That didn't make any sense, sorry. I'm doing a degree in psychology.
yeah,
Yeah. And the one thing I love about the brain is that we don't know, like humans don't know even like 10% of what the brain can do and how it works and all the rest of it. So it's like completely unknown. And like just yesterday, I was doing something that it was like it was like a description under a video, and it was like, we don't actually know why. And I'm like,
yeah. That's exciting,
holy
right?
shit, that is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, I'm learning something about something that people don't even know yet. Like,
No,
that's insane. Like,
I'm a big
yeah, and
fan of
jiu-jitsu is
Sam
just like
Harris,
that.
who's a neurobiologist. He's a renowned atheist and podcaster, but I really got interested in him for the neurobiology side of things through some of his books. And yeah, like his main goal in his professional career is to try to find, define, and understand what consciousness is. We don't even know
Yeah,
what consciousness is. Like at the very
literally.
root level, it's completely understood. There's
Yeah,
all sorts of different ideas, but nobody has a concrete answer, which is exciting for anybody in that field, right?
so exciting. Like, there's all these like ideas that we are all hallucinating, but what we pick up as reality is just what we can actually feel, what we can touch, what we can kind of envisage as real, but actually it's all a complete hallucination. And it's just like
Sure.
that
Well,
concept itself is just blows my mind. I
there's
love it.
respectable scientists at the peak of their field who believe we're in a simulation. So that
Yeah,
is like, we could be in the Matrix is fucking
it's
hilarious and exciting at the
entirely
same
possible.
time. Yeah,
I mean, like, unless The Simpsons make an episode that we're in the Matrix, it hasn't happened, right?
true.
Because that's how it works. They predict the future,
Yeah,
so that must
Matt
be.
Groening's keeping
If it
something
says
from
it on The
us.
Simpsons, yeah. If it
Yeah.
says it on The Simpsons, it must be true. That's all I can say. Um, so with the like the reverse Kimura and everything like that, did you like when you went to put it out as like an actual like tutorial?
Yeah.
And the other ones, was that like, did someone approach you for that? Did you approach other people? Did you go out there and try and get it published, or like how did that work?
It's all DIY. I do everything myself with that one. And that's the only way that I would want to do it. I had actually sort of sniffed around because I've got friends who do and have instructionals through BJJ Fanatics, which is kind of the acceptable route to go through
Yeah,
instruction online right now.
yeah,
And I kind of looked at that for a bit, but then I figured, nobody really knows me as an instructor yet, so they probably don't want that. It probably wouldn't pay me back very well on a per sale
yeah,
basis. What I need to do is instantiate myself to my own followers as an instructor, and that's been my goal, both through the release of these series, but also with my personal brand, which I've kind of started up on a separate page, Weatherhead on Instagram. And the only reason those exist is, well, obviously for monetary income, but mostly to help get my style of teaching out there for people who vibe with it. It's like there's a saying that says your vibe attracts your tribe, and like the people who really get the way that I teach and like it, that's what I want. Is I want that to be in front of them and be like, come over here and I can teach, kind of thing. Like I want to
yeah,
be an internet instructor for that reason, and it kind of expand my web in that way. And it's hard to do when you're sort of like a contractor, or you're under the
Yeah.
purview of another company. So you're
Hmm.
kind of like you're subject to their marketing, and you've got to sort of toe their company line. I wasn't really down for that, so I'm doing it all myself. I've got 3 instructionals out right now, 2 about reverse Kimura from close and half guard. I've got one I released recently about guard retention, and I've got the
Yeah.
companion series to that I'm actually finishing editing today, will be out later this month, on
Ooh.
guard passing. So I'll have, my goal is to have 5 full instructionals before the end of the year, and then I'm working on a full member site for the first quarter of 2021.
Wow, you literally just don't stop. It's so inspiring. So like honestly, I'm just like, wow, like you do so much. It's incredible.
Mm.
So I'm guessing that I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Has there ever been a point where you thought, I cannot do this anymore, I need to go out and get a job?
Yeah, well, besides the one point that happened while I was training at Purple Belt, we already talked about. Um,
Yeah,
it hits you in a different way when it's your livelihood and you have to
mhm,
think about, this isn't going to work out. That's a lot
yeah,
scarier. It's more of
mhm,
a personal decision if you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But when you're saying, I need to find a new career because I'm letting my family down, or I'm going to, I've got 6 mouths to feed, a mortgage, a car, a lease, and I'm losing students, or I haven't had enough new students lately, and you know, food isn't getting any cheaper. There's been a couple times, especially in that first year, where we're like, we've ran out of that nest egg and we're kind of hovering right now, and we hit a bad month, and we hit a couple of them where like the business account was down to 2 digits. Like I had $80 in the account to pay like $5,000 worth of bills within the next 2 weeks. So there's those rubber hit the road moments where you have to decide. And look, I get it. There's a lot of gyms that made the decision not to continue and just to forfeit, to go bankrupt. And I get it because I've been there where I had to make that decision. But thankfully, due to my concussive trauma over the years, I made the ill-advised but worked out well for me decision to keep going, and managed to limp through some of those really hard times. But yeah, there have been times where pulling the plug might have been the smart move.
well, but now you're glad you didn't,
Everything
you
in
know.
retrospect looks easy, right? But in the
Yeah,
moment, it's
always.
it's extremely difficult.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Like, yeah. And being an entrepreneur in itself is like one of the biggest challenges anyway, like, because you're always accountable to yourself. It's not like you
Yeah,
can just go, "Oh, hey, can I just get more hours?" And it's like, "Well, no, because I'm in charge." Like,
yeah,
I need to earn
exactly.
more money. I just need to do more hours. Oh, wait, there's only 24 in the day. Damn it. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need more hours, you know.
It's kind
Um,
of it's freedom, and it's a trap at the same time, is
yeah.
because you're reliant on your own ingenuity. So you're saying that I'm super busy. It's because I have to be super busy.
Yeah.
If I rest on my laurels for a month, I'm fucked. Like I'm back months and months and months of progress.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like the saying, oh, I love being an entrepreneur because it means that I can choose which 18 hours of the day that I work. I'm like, oh, I feel that so much. I really feel
Yeah.
that so much. um, so also, I just want to like hit on the consistency thing because
Mm.
you with because jitsu, you have posted every day for 5 years. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Without
insane
fail.
without
New
fail.
content
It's
too.
incredible. So consistency pays off. That is a fact. What is your take on that for jiu-jitsu, for social media, for marketing, like for mindset even? Like
Just
what's
for
the
life.
biggest?
There
Yeah,
seems to be a through line when it comes to whatever endeavors you're involved in. I was listening to a podcast recently with Ryan Hall, where he was saying that is the number one thing that dictates whether or not somebody will get to black belt is consistency.
right.
It's not skill, because you can be
Yeah,
as skilled as you want and get there in whatever time you want. But if you give up anywhere along the way, or if you decide to relax a bit and then it drifts off and it gets backburnered, that's how most people stop doing it. It's not because they got super injured and can't do it anymore, or they moved away from their gym and there's nowhere to train anymore. Usually it's this, they lose consistency a little bit. And if you do it, this is the main reason why I've done it every single day with Because Jitsu, because if I told myself it's okay to miss a day, then I'd tell myself next week it was okay to miss a day. And then maybe the week after that, it's okay to miss a couple days. And then now I'm only posting a couple times a month. Um,
Mm.
I know that that is a slippery slope. It's happened in other parts of my life, and I have to recognize that that's a trap. And for that reason, like, it's not just keeping a streak going, which is cool in and of itself, but I know that if I break that chain once, the whole house of cards can come down.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. And it goes, as you said, it goes for everything. So I think that's like a super important lesson. You've got two questions. So
Okay, I got like
have
another
you,
10 minutes here.
okay, I'll try and keep it quick.
So,
Two questions. Have you got a move named after yourself, and why do blue belts drop out?
okay. No, I don't have a move named after myself, although I've got a couple moves that I've named or had named that at least people around the gym have designated names for because I use them a lot. So there's a couple of those if you check out some of my instructionals or even the stuff on Instagram. There's some moves. One funky arm bar, somebody called a gram dab. That's kind of my thing.
That's a
There's a few
cool
weird
name.
ones. There's a few weird ones. But to answer the second question, this is something that has been an endless vat of meme possibilities for years. Is
Yeah.
the and it is a meme. This is like an actual life meme. Is that in jiu-jitsu people quit at blue belt, and I have my own theories about why that happens. And there's no way that it's one thing, but
Hmm.
I think that most of the time what happens is because jiu-jitsu is such a hard learning curve. Like, especially when you start, it's a very steep bell curve that a lot of people are going to fall off because they suck and they're getting beat up every class. And I have to come back to get beat up again. How many times do I have to keep coming back to get beat up? And that is why a lot of white belts leave, is because it's just so hard to keep up with that, because you're always losing. You're always the worst person in the room, or at least like getting walked on by most of the people. Then when you that process takes like between 2 to 3 years before you reach your first major milestone. So when you think about that, you've been in the trenches. Consider this as a war. You've been in the trenches for 2 or 3 years, and finally the general pulls you out and gives you a medal. You accomplish. You're done. I don't have to do this anymore. I got my medal. I proved myself. I know that I can
Yeah.
beat up anybody who's untrained. I got a blue belt now. The blue belt is the black belt of quitters.
Yes, that's so true. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And to be fair, you don't need a black belt to be amazing at jiu-jitsu. Compared to the untrained individual, blue belt is a black belt. So if
Yeah,
that's all you're looking for is self-defense, you're right. You've got self-defense now.
absolutely. No, exactly. 100%. So I've like one more question. How, it's quite a big one though. How do you balance everything that we have talked about so far and being a husband and a father?
It's not easy. And this is something that is a constant struggle day to day. I've got, like I said, I've got 4 kids between the age of 2 and 9. And especially the eldest right now, she is getting to that point where she's annoyed that she doesn't see daddy very often. And that hurts, day to
Does
day,
she
you got to
train?
try to put in, pardon?
Yeah, does she train?
She does, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I've got
okay.
3 of my kids so far training. So
Oh,
like
okay.
3 days a week they'll come in and they'll see me for 45 minutes at that point. But really, like,
Yeah.
the problem with owning a martial arts studio is that the hours are flipped compared to the regular career. Usually you'd work in the morning and afternoon, you'd be home for the evenings, and that's kind of mirrored by the school programs for the kids so that it lines up. You have family time in the evening, whereas with us, you're home for most of the morning, maybe the beginning of the afternoon, then you're gone for the rest of the day. You're not there for suppers, you're not there for bedtimes, like for 5 to 6 days of every week without fail.
Yeah.
That's really hard on the mentality of formative years of a young girl growing up. So this is something that I try my best when I'm home for those morning hours. Thankfully, she's homeschooled, so I see her in
Oh,
the morning.
okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't see her at all.
Yeah.
But I try my best to be present and to ask her how her day's going, ask her, how yesterday was, and sort of catch up and be the dad that I need to be for the few hours that I get per day. And then come to work and again, I'm teaching, I'm training, I'm learning, I'm building, I'm preparing, I'm scheming, the whole thing to do the entrepreneur thing in 5 different directions. But then when I come home, you got to kind of flip that off for the time you're there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm just, as I said earlier, I'm in awe of you. And I think that I don't know how you fit it all in, but you do. So that's incredible. And yeah, your kids are very lucky. They probably won't appreciate it yet, but they never do, right?
No,
Till they're adults, and then they're like, "Oh my God, my parents are so cool."
yeah.
Well, so last thing is, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Probably direct message on either Because Jitsu or my personal at Drew.Weatherhead. I check those every day. So if there's something that's important that you need to talk to me about, you can hit me up. I'll try to reply as much as I can. I know I get avalanched on the one account, so it may take a little bit,
Yeah.
but I try to get back. If it's something that's important that I feel like I can help with, I'll try to help.
Okay, well, that's doesn't surprise me at all. It kind of goes completely with your character. So that's amazing. And thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved talking to you.
No, thank
Um,
you.
and yeah, it's been brilliant. So hopefully people have got something from it as well. And yeah, just guys, go follow Because Jitsu, Drew.Weatherhead. Just go follow, and spread the love. And unfollow Gordon Ryan. I'm going to start that as a hashtag.
Take
Yeah,
care,
thank
Ellen.
you. Thank you so much. I will speak to you very soon.
Sounds good. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.